It is a genuine honor and a deep pleasure to bring you this story today. Back in 1969, a young woman named Goldie Hawn accepted an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress at the age of only 24. For the vast majority of people in the film industry, a milestone like that is the finish line of a marathon, a crowning achievement that takes decades of grueling work to reach. It is the ultimate stamp of approval that validates your talent, opens every closed door, and completely shifts the public's perception of what you can accomplish. Goldie Hawn managed to capture that lightning in a bottle almost immediately, before she had even truly mapped out the trajectory of her own career. But what she did next was the real surprise. Instead of spending the following decade taking on heavy dramas to prove the Academy hadn't made a mistake, she pivoted right back into the world of comedy. This isn't a tragic tale of someone being pushed out of the spotlight or fading away. It is a study of a woman who knew exactly what she wanted, and perhaps more importantly, recognized exactly what she didn't need to prove to anyone else. Let's dive into the legacy of Goldie Hawn. Let's take it to the screen. Before the prestigious awards and the red carpets, there was Laugh-In. This was a variety sketch show defined by its frantic pace and a sense of chaotic spontaneity that was actually meticulously crafted. Goldie Hawn was the heart of it, a radiant blonde force of nature who danced through scenes with a vulnerable, wide-eyed warmth that made the entire country fall in love with her. That persona took hold instantly, but television has a habit of trapping performers in their first big hit. Hawn wasn't being marketed as a serious artist with range. She was seen as someone light, approachable, and fun. While that is a valuable brand, it can also be a golden cage. What the public didn't see was the disciplined foundation beneath the laughter. She had been a trained dancer since she was a young girl. Raised in her mother's dance studio in D.C., she was a seasoned professional long before the cameras ever found her. But that grit didn't always translate into the ditzy character the audience saw. People saw the lightness, not the labor. So when she was cast in Cactus Flower, everyone assumed she was just going to do a high-budget version of her TV character. They were wrong. Cactus Flower starts in familiar territory, with Hawn playing a character who feels like a cousin to her Laugh-In self, bubbly and perhaps a bit flighty. But as the story unfolds, a different layer emerges. Her performance is incredibly calculated, her comedic timing is razor-sharp, and she hits the dramatic emotional beats with a precision that never feels forced. The industry took notice. Winning an Oscar at 24 changes your status from popular to credible overnight. But with that credibility comes an immense pressure to get serious and distance yourself from the fluff of your past. Most actors would have overcorrected by taking on the darkest, heaviest roles possible to scream that they were serious artists. Hawn didn't take the bait. Instead, she took that newfound respect and used it as a shield to keep moving at her own pace. You can see this in the directors who sought her out. In 1974, she starred in the Sugarland Express, which was Steven Spielberg's first theatrical film. A brilliant young director making his debut could have chosen anyone, but he wanted her. It was a clear signal that her talent was being recognized by the best in the business. She followed that with Butterflies Are Free, a quieter film that required real emotional gravity. She wasn't acting serious, she was just being human. Then came Shampoo, a more cynical, adult, and politically charged film where her intelligence was hidden in plain sight behind her trademark lightness. She wasn't trying to reinvent herself. She was simply expanding her boundaries without losing the essence of why people loved her in the first place. She was proving the Oscar was no fluke while simultaneously refusing to let a trophy dictate her life. By 1980, with the release of Private Benjamin, the power dynamic had shifted completely. She wasn't just the lead, she was the producer. This gave her control over the tone and the direction of the film. While it's remembered as a broad comedy, the character of Judy Benjamin is never the butt of the joke in a way that feels cheap. She's naive, sure, but she finds her strength on her own terms. This was the moment Hawn stopped just taking jobs and started building them. She understood that comedy for women can become disposable if you aren't careful, and she used her leverage to make sure that didn't happen to her. In the mid-80s, when many stars start to repeat themselves and fade into the background, Hawn stayed grounded. Projects like Seems Like Old Times and Wildcats were mainstream hits that worked because she stayed emotionally present. She didn't rely on being wacky, she relied on restraint. There was no sense of desperation in these roles, no frantic attempt to stay young or compete with the next generation. She was maintaining her position with a rare kind of discipline. She was okay with not dominating every single cultural conversation, which set the stage for something much more personal. When Overboard arrived in 1987, it looked like just another studio comedy. But the reason it has stayed in the cultural consciousness for decades is the undeniable, effortless chemistry between Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. It wasn't a performance, it was real. They had met decades earlier when she was starting out and he was just a kid at Disney. And by the time they filmed Overboard, there was a foundation of trust that you simply cannot fake. That relationship became a blueprint for her life. They've been together for over 40 years without ever feeling the need to get married. They ignored the traditional rules of how a Hollywood power couple should look and chose what worked for them. It's the same philosophy she applied to her career. Identify what actually matters, protect it, and ignore the noise. By the 90s, her rhythm slowed down, but her impact didn't. Death Becomes Her was a biting, dark satire that mocked the very industry she grew up in, showing she was still willing to take risks. But as the 90s progressed, she didn't fight against the natural slowing of her career. She didn't overextend herself or try to fit into a version of Hollywood that was changing. She simply became more intentional. She chose her moments. The First Wives Club in 1996 was her last massive commercial explosion, a film about women taking back their power, and it was the perfect note to transition on. She didn't need to be the sole engine of a movie anymore. She was happy to share the screen and then, eventually, step away. Looking back, the most impressive thing about Goldie Hawn isn't the roles she took, but the ones she didn't feel obligated to play. She didn't need to keep adding chapters just to stay relevant. When she finally returned for Snatched in 2017 after a nearly 20-year break, she did it with total perspective. She was there because she wanted to be. Her story isn't about a rise and fall, it's about a woman who successfully balanced comedy and credibility without losing her soul. She built a life, raising kids like Kate and Oliver Hudson, maintaining a legendary partnership and living away from the Hollywood grind, that didn't require constant applause to feel valid. She understood timing and she trusted it. She is the rare person who got the balance right across the board, and that is a truly remarkable feat. Thanks so much for hanging out and diving into this story with me today. If you enjoyed this look at a Hollywood icon, feel free to give the video a like, leave a comment with your favorite Goldie movie, and hit that subscribe button to join the community. It really helps the channel out, and I genuinely look forward to catching you all in the next video.